Please don't worry, everything will be okay. We must keep working with the agency so that we could have a baby of our own.
But it makes me absolutely sick to think about. All I want is a child.
I know, we both have been pure our whole lives. The agencies will respect us for that.
This whole adoption process has been so stressful. I feel as though I've aged 20 years in the past 3 months.
I understand. It'll all work out just fine. I'm doing my best to provide for us so that we may obtain a child. Think back to when we met Cornelia.
Yes, and?
Did we ever think we would marry?
No.
Exactly, but we did. So please believe that everything will work out fine. As we leave, I am sure things will get better.
Do you really think that we will be able to find work in Oregon?
I will do anything so that we can become and have a family, okay?
Maybe today is the day. We can proceed forward on a long and endless journey to have a baby.
Everything will go just fine today.
I just don't know. But yes, it should. We have selected the finest agency. We have all had the home studies conducted, so all should go well.
Exactly. We may have a few additional clearances that need to be processed, but after that we should be able to begin in the search for a child.
Good morning. Welcome to Heart and Soul Adoptions. How are you both doing today?
I'm good. How are you?
Great, thank you. So you're both interested in adopting a child, I assume?
Yes, very much so.
Great. Do you mind if I ask why?
We have always wanted a family. Unfortunately, we cannot create one of our own. But we both have always wanted a child, and this is the only solution to our problem. We both love kids. From the time we got married, we always knew that we wanted to have children, but unfortunately, this is impossible for us at the time.
Excellent. It's great to know that there are people like you who have such a love for children. Mr. and Mrs. Elliott, what do you do for work?
Well, that's something we're currently trying to work out. I'm a poet and have been struggling to find work. I'm planning to begin working for the Oregon Local News.
It is definitely hard to find work in this day and age, but it's definitely in order to have a successful family.
I know, we're trying our best to find work.
It seems as though you're both very qualified for parenthood, but employment definitely is an essential aspect in order to be able to provide for the physical needs of a child. So from your paperwork, I see that a home study was conducted?
Yes, it was.
Oh, well, that's weird. It says on my papers that the home study was conducted in Missouri. I can call the agency headquarters to investigate this further. I wonder why the inspector would have written Missouri. That's very odd considering we're in Oregon.
Well, we may know something as to why this is so.
You see, my work has moved me to Oregon. We plan to create a nice home here too. We just moved and our finances are insecure, so we have yet to have the means to move into a house of our own.
May I ask where your current residence is?
We have been living in a trailer park just south of Portland. We plan to move into a home with a large and perfectly suited for a child.
Okay, we will have to notify the agency of these changes. We cannot begin the process of searching for a child until you do have a suitable home.
So, what is our next step in working towards finding a child?
Well, we are going to do our best. I do not want to discourage you. However, by law, you must have an established home and secure financial standing before we can give you a child. Please don't think that your chance of having a child is over. We are happy to continue working with you, but you first must obtain these things.
Okay, thank you. I don't know for how much longer I can take this. I don't think we can try to get a child for much longer. My heart is broken. I cannot stand it anymore. We have contacted so many agencies. None of the agencies see us fit to be parents. I cannot stand it anymore.
Well, let's go down to the cafe for some time. I have a few friends who are interested in beginning to read some of my work. I know that this cafe is always full of tourists, but it will be good for the both of us to spend time with friends.
Do you think so? Alright, I guess we can go. I just can no longer stand the thought of unsuccessfully trying to work with the adoption agencies to get a child. I just don't have the strength in me.
Alright, let's just go.
Ella, it is so good to see you. It is time that we had a good cry together.
Oh, Cornelia, it's wonderful to see you as well. How have you been?
Oh, Ella, it is such a delight to see you. Oh, how I've missed you since that time together in the tea shop.
I've been great. I too have been moving around quite a bit. I'm overjoyed that we were reunited here. How's your life been going?
It has been rough lately. Huber and I have been working with many adoption agencies in an effort to get a child. We cannot have one on our own, and it's just, a child is all we want.
You've endured so much. I'm so sorry to hear of your troubling times. What have you thought about living on the coast? It's beautiful, isn't it?
Yes, the views are stunning, and the rain is so refreshing. But look at Huber. He's drinking a glass of wine and all alone. Huber is alone drinking so much more now. He has just compiled some great works to submit to the Portland newspaper. We think that his work is beginning to prosper.
I'm so happy to hear that. I'm glad everything's going well. I hope everything works out in the end.
Cornelia, we must try again at the adoption agency. We have an appointment at Rainbows and Adoption. Are you ready to go?
Yes, I am. But Hubert, I really don't know how much more time I can spend doing this. I have plans to have lunch with Ella later this afternoon.
Hello.
Hi, do you want to go get dinner tonight?
It sounds good to me.
Hubert, I'm going out.
From this piece and others, we know that Ernest Hemingway is a modern writer. This means that he used the modern constructs throughout his work. The 5 modern constructs include rejection of traditions, symbolism, understatement, change, and marginalized people. Marlene, did you see an example of modern constructs used?
I did. I saw the theme of rejection of traditions. Traditionally, people would want that American dream, which was having a nice house and a nice community and raising your kids, but considering the Elliots' circumstances, they were incapable of having a child, so they were on their own and they went from place to place. I have a quote here that says, they landed at Cherbourg and came to Paris, and they decided to go to Dijon. So basically they were marginalized people. Kayla, did you see any examples?
Yes, I did. I saw a great deal of examples regarding marginalized people. Towards the end of the story, Mr. Elliot is marginalized. To be marginalized is to be ignored and pushed to the outside of your group. At one point, Mr. Elliot had been a companion to Mrs. Elliot, but after they had been unable to conceive a child together, Mr. Elliot had taken to drinking white wine and lived apart in his own room. Because he could not provide what Cornelia desired, he marginalized and pushed her out of his life. Alyssa, did you notice any change?
Yes, and the primary amount of change was in the relationship between Mr. and Mrs. Elliot. In the beginning of the story, they were newly married and they were happy living together. Cornelia referred to Mr. Elliot as, quote, her dear sweet boy, end quote. However, as time progressed and they were unable to conceive a child, a greater distance grew between the two. As Kayla, you had mentioned earlier, Mr. Elliot had taken to drinking white wine and lived apart in his own room, end quote. Mrs. Elliot had developed a relationship with her girlfriend and was spending more time with her. Thus, change in their relationship is evident throughout the course of the story. Marlene, did you see any understatement that was used?
Yes, I saw a great deal of understatement. In the beginning of the short story, Hemingway tells us that Mr. and Miss Elliot tried very hard to have a baby. This is an understatement because they did anything in their power to have that baby until it became too much for Miss Elliot. Kayla, what symbolism was used?
Hemingway used an abundance of symbolism throughout this piece. Although the Elliots tried very hard to have a baby, the inability of the Elliots to conceive a child is a symbolic representation of Mr. Elliott's lack of masculinity. He did not have the manly characteristics that would enable him to become a father. Because many single women knew of his virginity, nearly all the girls lost interest in him. The fact that women ran away from him as a result of his virginity contributes to how he symbolized a lack of masculinity.
I think it's very easy for us to conclude that Hemingway was a modern writer. He used these constructs for us to understand the lives of these people during their time period.